Creswell is definitely easy to remember. So please do so and do well. All right, so we are now on the last part of Introduction to Research. This is the fourth video that you need to watch to finish lecture. In this lecture, it will be very, very short. We will talk about the challenges of doing research, especially in the context of the social sciences. Education is an example of a social science. Our goal for this video is simply to enumerate and define the key challenges. Sorry for that. The key challenges of doing um, social science research. So there are actually four that is listed by Best and Can 2003 from the lecture notes of Dr. Ami Buwan. Um, the problems with social science research is number one, no two persons are alike in feelings, drives, or emotions, and even the same person would have different feelings, drives, and emotions at different sets of times. So that's why sometimes research, if you want to quantify it, would need rigorous statistical analysis so that we can establish something that is conclusive and not missing the point. So that's one really difficult stuff about social science research. And as I mentioned, no one person is completely consistent from one moment to another. Maybe if you get someone to answer a question this time around, and then a few days later, there may be substantial changes in his perceptions, his views, and even his wordings or phrasing of how he answered the question. So that's another issue that we'll be facing here in the social science research. Another thing is that human beings are influenced by research process itself. Sometimes when we do research that involves a classroom, students in the classroom most often would act differently because they know that they are being observed by people. So it's kind of like that's also a threat to our to the validity of the research process. And finally, the behavioral sciences have been limited by a lack of adequate definition. So for example, when you say achievement in education, what do we mean by that? Different people would have different thoughts on what achievement is and how to measure achievement. Even the term motivation is quite depressingly have a variety of definitions and means of getting a measure of it. Collaboration is one. Constructivism is another. So there's a lot of things in social science are not so succinctly and distinctly defined. So it's kind of like another thing that we need to be aware of. That's why in social science, we need to have a very, very, very good literature view so that we can have a robust description or definition of certain variables and constructs that we are dealing with. Now, there are means to address these threats to our research. And maybe I'll be leaving you with a handout on how to kind of like address those threats so that we can still establish a more or less reliable and valid research um, findings despite all of these challenges.